these girls?
Well, I think, when you're little especially, when I was little, it was all about having fun and just enjoying tennis. And, it's not so much about winning and, I want to be number one in the world. Of course, it's a dream, but I think it's very important to enjoy it. And, yeah, it's great to have idols. And, my idol has always been Steffi Graf, and I've always looked up to her. So I think tournaments like these really help, create interest in tennis in areas and in communities that are not so open to tennis, and stuff like that. So I think it's really, really good. And I've had a lot of Indian community people come out and support, and it's been a really good week here. It's very tough for us, especially coming from Hyderabad, where a city which basically never, I think we had like 4 tennis courts in the whole city when I was younger, and now we have a world-class stadium there. So that shows how far tennis has grown in the country and in the state. And so I think it's a lot harder to come out as professional, especially tennis players from that side of the world, because of the fact that is not the national sport, so to say. Cricket is, and cricket kind of takes over, I think, most sports over there. So, but I think it's getting better. It already has since I started playing, and hopefully, in 15, 20 years from now, it'll be, we'll be at international standards.
Have you seen the interest of the young women there kind of go up, and they are participating more since, like, when you were playing?
Well, most definitely. When I was younger, I remember we could barely fill draws with, like, under 14 and under 16. Then, now you have turnouts of like 500, 600 kids for under 10 tournaments, and I think that's really, really good, but people expect that soon there's going to be, someone just suddenly out of the blue come out. It doesn't work like that. There's a system you have to to process, and you have to work hard, so it takes time. But, like I said, just the way China kind of made that transition, and, there was a revolution of suddenly all these tennis players coming up, and I hope that, from that side of the world, people do come up as well, from the subcontinent. Tennis is a much more difficult game to make it in. It's a very global sport. It's one of the very few really, really global sports where every country participates, and physically you have to be really, really strong. And genetically we're not as big and strong as, say, the Europeans or the Russians, but that's why we have to work doubly hard, I guess. And and hopefully, like I said, we'll have some people coming up.
Playing in India, it certainly wasn't easy. But there's still parents here, who are from that community that sometimes hesitate from letting their girls participate because they feel like, okay, well, she's going to be on a court wearing shorts and a skirt and things like that. And I've heard a lot of parents just kind of discourage the girls and say, no, that's not for you. What is your message to parents like that?
First of all, I think that's a very personal choice. And, neither you or I can judge or kind of, so to say, tell a person what they think about their own. Everyone has different values and different religion boundaries, and I don't think it's just actually the Muslims, Muslim community, but I also think there's a lot of the other communities in India that also don't prefer their daughters playing in skirts and shorts. So it's not just the Muslims, as it's portrayed. So, but the fact is that, like I said, I think religion to me, I'm a practicing Muslim, but to me that's very personal, and that's just my choice, and everyone has their own choice. And I choose to play tennis, but I also choose to pray.
Folks, she's just fun to watch. I love to watch her. We should mention that she actually won the doubles title with her partner at this competition, and she and her husband Shoaib Malik are actually doing quite fine in Dubai, and so I look forward to seeing her in more of these types of matches. Tennis is really taking off, especially in these new leagues that are coming up, so it's exciting to see these young performers come here and put on a show for us.
One good thing, she moved out of India. She's now in Dubai. So from Dubai, she can participate in the tennis Olympics. Whereas in India, she would have had a lot of competition, and people, if they didn't like what she did, she would not have been allowed.
It's a growing sport in India, and you have to get over challenges. Things like, even wearing the short tennis skirts is sometimes problematic when you're playing the sport in India. But I'm just happy to see a young, fresh face pursue this, and she's doing great.
Moving on, folks, we have not talked about China. We got to talk about China. Well, folks, a few years ago, I remember almost everyone, those who can get a credit card, when they first came out, they wanted to have more credit cards. I remember...
It's like a status symbol. How many cards you have in your
yeah,
wallet?
you know, they would show the wallet. Hey, I got 10, I got 12, I got 14. Well, same thing is happening now in China. So China was introduced lately with the credit cards, and they have gone bananas. You know, it's like 240 million cards were issued last year. I mean, amazing. People are collecting all kinds of credit cards, but they're not carrying the loan. You know, they pay it in the first month.
They just like to have it in their wallet.
Yeah, they say, we don't want to pay interest, but we want to have that because, you know, you go to a social party and you show how many you have. But at the same time, I want to tell you, it's a very serious thing. They're not allowing any of the American credit card companies up there. The Chinese government is saying to all the American credit card companies, you have to come through UnionPay. You got to marry them. And the transactions, you know, they much rather do it on their own circuit. No, you have to do it on UnionPay. In other words, I mean, this is a forced marriage. Many of the companies are actually working there, but they're not very happy. And they're looking at this growing market with eyes wide, but they cannot participate.
They're salivating at the opportunity to tackle this market. And China, being smart and savvy, realizes that they can't lose this ground to Western forces, so they're controlling it. They're controlling it by having a local entity be participant in this entire exercise. I don't know that I disagree with that, really.
I beg your pardon. They come over here and sell me underwear, and I can't sell them credit cards?
That's up
no,
to our
I disagree.
government. It's up to our government not to have set up those kinds of facilities in the first place.
But the unfortunate part is that in China, all the companies are like state-sponsored. They are asking WTO, they're asking the United States government, can we work on our own? Do we have to have China UnionPay as our master?
Well,
they don't like that.
They are not a free enterprise. They are not a capitalist society. If we choose to open our door and they close it but leave a window open, then the response to that should be we should close our door and leave the window open. Why do we have such a free and open import set up, and yet we don't allow ourselves to control that and narrow it so we give our own homegrown industries a chance to grow?
You know, you're absolutely right. I remember at one time when Japan was shipping a whole lot of video recorders, VCRs, to France, French manufacturers went to the government and said, you got to help. So what did they do? They said, okay, all VCRs will be imported as many numbers as you want. You send it to this particular airport, and we'll have customs agents check it out. And, you know, you're going to come out real quick. Sure enough, all the VCRs started coming at the Charles de Gaulle airport, and there was only one custom agent to check each and every machine. And